Okay, so far we learned about the CNN architectures and how to train them. And from today, we will learn about how to apply the CNN architectures to more complex computer vision applications for achieving the segmentation and also the pose estimation tasks. Okay. So this slide, you may see this slide at the first lecture, okay? So this slide is showing the segmentation application, okay? So from RGB images, we have to rebuild the pixel-wise, uh, I mean, which pixels are containing which objects, okay? So we have to achieve the object classification pixel wisely. So that's the semantic segmentation application, okay? So, in object detection task, we detect the object as the bounding box representation, but this bounding box is also having pixels which is not belonging to the object. Okay, so for example, the car. So in semantic segmentation, we want to reveal exact pixels, okay, that is belonging to the car object. That is the semantic segmentation application. Okay, so we will learn about how we can achieve semantic segmentation using the CNN architectures we have learned so far, and also this bounding box representation. We also want to detect object. So that task is called as object detection task. And we will also learn about how we can achieve this object detection, okay? And also, we also have learned there are other types of computer vision application, which is called as pose estimation. So the goal of this pose estimation is given the RGB input, we want to reconstruct their 3D structure, okay, for the hand or even for the human body, okay. This is called as skeletal representation, skeletons, okay, that is constituted with 21 key point, okay. And this 21 key point that is having XYZ coordinate, okay? So, and also these 21 key points that is defined for defined for 4 point, 4 fingers, okay? For each finger, they are having 4 point. So because there are 5 fingers, we have 20 key point defined on the fingers and 1 point defined on the wrist. Okay. In Korea, wrist is 손목의 한 점이랑 5손가락에 4개씩 정의가 됩니다. 포인트는. So we have 21 key point defined for the hand. Okay. And for this key point, we have to reveal their XYZ coordinate. So there are 63 floating values, okay? So this is kind of regression task. Given X, the input image X, we want to reveal their 63 floating values, that is meaning XYZ coordinate for 21 key point, okay? And also nowadays, their output is becoming more complex, okay? So this type of meshes can be also defined from the RGB images. So from the single RGB image, we can estimate this type of mesh that could be rotated in the 3D space, okay? And these 3D meshes also can be, again, reprojected to the RGB domain as well. So anyways, from the given RGB image, 2D input, we can reconstruct their full 3D meshes, okay? And these 3D meshes looks smooth, okay? However, because they are having many vertices on their surface, okay? So in this surface, there are 778 vertices. In Korea is 꼭지점. 꼭지점이 778개 있습니다. 그래서 because of dense vertices they are having, they look smooth. Okay? And we have to estimate XYZ coordinate of these 778 vertices, okay, for reconstructing these smooth surfaces. Nowadays, thanks to the nonlinear mapping capability of deep learning, we can even map the RGB, 2D RGB images into these smooth surfaces, dense smooth surfaces, which is called as mesh representation. So previously, before deep learning, we normally use this skeleton representation to achieve this pose estimation. But nowadays, thanks to the deep learning, we can even achieve this more complex mesh regression. Okay, and for the human body as well, these how to say human body meshes, they are having this number of vertices on it, and even we can regress this vertex coordinate. Okay, that is the human mesh regression. And actually, we will today, in this lecture, we will learn about how we can extend the CNN architecture for achieving this semantic segmentation and also for this pose estimation. We will see their detailed architectures, okay? So first, we will learn about how we can extend our network for this semantic segmentation application. Okay, so as we learned from the given RGB input, we have to reveal their pixel-wise classification. That's the semantic segmentation. But I mean, naive approach to achieve the semantic segmentation is we can extract these sized patches by applying this type of sliding window approach. Sliding window means we will have the small size window and we'll slide it to get these patches densely, okay, for all over the images, okay. And then what we will do is we will apply CNN architectures we have learned to classify these patches into one of the classes, okay. Are you following this? Okay. By doing that, we can classify each patches, okay? And then we can get dense segmentation maps like this, okay? Are you agree with this? Okay. By extracting dense patches from the images, and then we can classify each patch using the CNN architecture, then we can get this dense segmentation map, right? This is the naive implementation of the semantic segmentation, but the problem is it's very slow, okay? So there will be, if the full image, their size is 640 by 320, then there will be this amount of pixels we have to classify, right? And we have to apply CNN architectures this amount of times, okay? And it may take like a few hours, right, to achieve this one semantic segmentation. Are you agree with that? Okay. And that will take like few hours to achieve this semantic segmentation. So it might be better for humans to draw this segmentation map by humans. Okay. So if AI takes a few hours to draw the segmentation map, if it takes few hours, then it might be better for us to draw it by ourselves. Okay, it is inefficient and impractical. Okay, so this is very easy implementation, and also previously before the deep learning. Indeed, many shallow learning involving shallow learning algorithms, we did it like this. For example, we use random forest and SVM, which is shallow learning algorithm. To achieve this semantic segmentation, we extract the dense patches from the sliding window schemes and then classify each patches using this shallow learning algorithm. And that takes within few seconds, like within, for example, 10 seconds, we could achieve semantic segmentation before we involve deep learning architectures, okay? But deep learning, it takes a lot of time, okay? It has a lot of layers and it has a lot of parameters to apply. So because of that, it takes hours to achieve this semantic segmentation in this way, okay? So it becomes impractical. So the computer vision researchers are becoming to think about new methods that could achieve semantic segmentation efficiently. Okay. So for example, this is the input X, okay, and this is the output Y we want to have for that input X, okay. And this is some deep learning architectures we have, but uh, for the classification task, we always think this type of architecture which always reduce the dimension of the input. Okay, when applying convolutions or pooling or activation layers, we always tend to reduce the size of the 2D responses. Okay. So this is the input images having this dimension. H means height, W means width, and 3 means 3 channels that RGB images are having. And by applying convolutions and pooling operations, we tend to reduce the size of the 2D responses. Okay. But if there is some layers that can do the inverse things, which means upsampling. Upsampling means uh, increasing again the 2D responses. Okay, so they are somehow reduced from the original 2D images. But if there are some operation that can upsample these reduced responses, okay, and also ultimately, if we can upsample the reduced responses to the original input image size, and also if it is the differentiable operation, then we can stack that differentiable upsampling operation inside the entire deep architectures, maybe, right? If there is some operation like this, then we can use it inside the deep learning architecture, and can learn their parameters to output this type of segmentation map. Okay, are you guys understanding this? Okay. And indeed, the computer vision researchers are finding that kind of operation, and that is actually called as transposed convolution operation. This transposed convolution operation is differentiable. First, it is differentiable, and also it is doing upsampling. Okay? So we can use this transposed convolution for later part of the operation and can upsample the reduced 2D signals back to the original dimensional signal. Okay. And their operation is quite similar to the convolution operation. So left is the convolution operation and right is showing the transposed convolution operation. So as we already learned, these blue pixels are showing the input pixels, okay? And this gray 3 by 3 is window is showing the filter corner, okay? Filter corner, anyways, I don't know why. Okay, okay. Anyways, we move the filter corner by few pixels. When stride is 1, we will move this filter corner by 1 pixel. Okay. So, and then we do element-wise multiplication between the filter corner coefficients and also the image pixels, and then summed up to get one output pixel. Okay, are you guys already familiar with this convolution operation, right? And then we will move the filter corner by 1 pixel and do the same for obtaining the next output pixel and so on. That's the convolution operation. And because that operation is composed of plus and multiplication and sometimes subtraction, so the output of this operation is differentiable respect to their filter coefficients and also respect to their input pixels, okay? That is meaning that this operation is differentiable, right? And right, it is also very similar. The gray things which is moving is also the filter corner, okay? This gray things is filter corner, and blue is also the 2D input response, and this green is the output response, okay? And the operation itself is also same as convolution operation. When filter corner is here, also we apply element-wise multiplication and also sum it to output one output pixel, okay? Are you guys following this? So the operation itself is very similar to that of the convolution, okay? And because it is also composed of these operations, which when combining the input and the filter corner coefficients, they are also differentiable, okay? But, and also you have to focus on when 2 by 2 inputs are coming, you can get 4 by 4 output, which means the operation can upsample the responses, okay? And I will first show the characteristic of this transport convolution operation, and it is already implemented in the PyTorch layer. So you can call this comp transpose 2D operation, okay, when wanting to use this operation. And there are also parameters defined similar to the convolution operation. There are padding, stride, and corners, filter corners. So I will show you how they operate. So when this is input response, which is in size of 5 by 5, and if we want to convert it, transpose convert it with 2 by 2 filter corners, what happened is by default, they apply even the padding hyperparameters are 0. By default, they apply 1 0 pad. So the red pixel, yellow pixel around the original red pixels are the default 0 padding. Okay. So the original 5 by 5 images are becoming to 7 by 7 2D images. And then we apply this 2 by 2 filter corner on these 7 by 7 zero padded images. Okay. And by doing that, we can get the 6 by 6 dimensional output. Okay. Are you guys agree with this? Okay. So one characteristic of transpose convolution is it by default apply this 1 0 padding. Okay. So thanks to that, we can get larger output images when given, compared to the input image dimensions. Okay. So you have to see, by applying transpose convolution, we can get larger output images compared to the input images. And that is also, how to say, mainly because of this 1 0 padding, which is applied by default. Okay. And also, if you increase the size of stride, okay, so previously we saw the case where the stride was 1, but if you apply stride, which is larger than 1, the output size is even larger than previous. Okay, so for example, if input image size is 3 by 3, in previous slide that was 5 by 5, but even we have smaller input size, but with same filter corner size, but you are using stride 2 differently to the stride 1 in previous slide. When you use this stride 2, the input pixels are rearranged like this. Okay, their offsets are becoming 2. Okay, so previously it was 3 by 3, but they are rearranged in this way. Okay, and their offsets between pixels are becoming 2, right? And here zeros are padded. Okay, and then we will apply default 1 0 pad around this image. I don't know. Okay, so zero padding is applied around these enlarged pixels. Okay, and then we will apply this 2 by 2 convolution operation for this enlarged input image. And then we can get output images, which is in 6 by 6 dimension. Okay. So even with smaller 3 by 3 input image, you can get 6 by 6 dimensional, which is enlarged output. Okay. Are you guys following this? Is easy, right? And also, it has also different opposite characteristic to the convolution operation. So if we previously we used zero padding, okay, 0 0 padding, but here we will use 1 padding. Okay, if we explicitly use 1 padding in convolutions, it has larger. It means larger input image, but in transpose convolution, it has the opposite meaning. So if we use one padding, then till here it is saying because we have strike 2 and we have the default 1 0 padding, but from here because we set padding as 1, we delete 1 padding around the original image. So if we set padding as some value, and we will remove our pixels, I mean boundary pixels by that amount, okay? In transpose convolution, it has a different meaning. The padding means opposite meaning to the convolutions, okay? Are you guys following this? Okay. And you may doubt why this happened, okay? So this is not defined by humans. This characteristic, I show you the characteristic of this transpose convolution first, but this is not human designed, but uh, this characteristic naturally, I mean, appears when we define this transpose convolution. So now I will show you how this transpose convolution is defined. Okay. To know that, we have to see again about the convolution operation. So this is the convolution operation again. So the left, you are seeing the 4x4 input images, okay? And here, you are also seeing 3x3 filter corner, okay? And we apply the 3x3 filter corner in this location and do element-wise multiplication and summation to get this output pixel, right? And also we shift it to the right and do the same to get this output pixel, okay? And we shift it again here and do the same to get the output pixel here, right? And we locate the filter corner again in this way and get this output pixel, okay? That is convolution we have learned. But that is we humans are thinking about this convolution operation. But when implementing this convolution operation inside the computer, we don't implement it in this way. We humans think these convolutions as some sequential operations that happening in this way. But when we implement the convolutions in the computer, we flatten the images. So these blue things are 4x4 input images, and we actually flatten it, okay, and make it into 16x1 vector, okay. And also we transform these 3x3 corners, okay, into the convolutional matrix, okay. There is some rule for this. So we flatten these 9 questions into this vector, and inside we pad zeros, okay, to make it fit to this 6x1 input, and also we shift it somehow, okay. And anyways, we build this convolutional matrix, okay, from the 3x3 convolutional corner. And actually, what we does inside the computer for calculating one convolution operation is by applying this convolutional matrix and this input one-dimensional vector, we apply the multiplication, matrix multiplication, and we will get this one-dimensional vector again. Okay, are you guys following this? And then we can rearrange this resultant one-dimensional vector into 2 by 2 matrix, and then you can find that these one-dimension vector, their values are actually same as this convolutional result. Okay. Actually, this is somehow, I mean, the difference between what humans think about convolutions and how we implement that in the computer. Okay. The reason why I explain about this convolution operation is the transpose convolution. You may already learn about the transposed operation in maybe in the linear algebra. Okay. In transpose convolution, we apply the transposed operation for the convolutional matrix. Okay. Then previously, this convolutional matrix was wider. I mean, their columns are wider than the rows. Okay. However, if we apply transposed operation for this convolutional matrix, now the rows are wider than the columns. Okay. And then if we apply this convolutional matrix to the input vector, then we can get larger output vector compared to the input vector. Okay, are you guys following this? Okay. So if we apply this convolutional matrix to 2 by 2 input response, which can be transformed into 4 by 1 vector, then we can get this 4 by 4 output map. Okay. And because of this, all the characteristics I enumerated here is coming. Okay. It has a slightly different meaning to the original convolution operation, right? Their stride, corner, and padding is meaning slightly opposite meaning to that of the convolutions. But they are basically having the same operations, the multiplication to the filter corner coefficients, and their values are summed. Okay, they are the same as the original convolution. So anyways, that fulfill our objective. So we need some operation which is differentiable at the same time, which can upsample our 2D responses. Okay. And if we can constitute the later part of the deep architecture with this transpose convolution operation, then that can I have to say, reconstruct the H by W size responses, okay, in the differentiable way. And if we are given many X and Y pairs, okay, then we can train this type of network, okay. Are you guys agree with this? Okay. So instead of achieving this semantic segmentation in this way, that is applying the CNN architecture, which is developed for the classification task, this amount of times. Instead of doing that, we can get just one architecture that can one time input the input image and output the this kind of map, which is in this dimension. Okay, are you guys following this? Okay. And this type of network, this is widely used in multiple applications. And that is actually called as encoder-decoder architecture. So encoder means feature extraction. Okay? We normally, we normally interpret this part as for extracting some features, okay, from the original 2D images, we are extracting some low-dimensional vector, okay, that is, we call it as extracting some features. And that part is called as encoding process, okay? And then we can also reconstruct those features back to some output, which is in high dimension again. And we call that process as the decoding process, okay? So we call this type of architecture as the encoder-decoder architecture. And encoder, that is mainly composed of the convolution operation and also with some activation layer like ReLU, okay? And the decoder, it is composed of transpose convolution operation and the nonlinear layers, okay? And the forward operation is very simple. We first apply encoder and then apply decoder to obtain the final output, okay? So this type of encoder-decoder architecture can be used to achieve this image segmentation task, okay? So maybe in assignment 2, you have to maybe required to implement some segmentation tasks, okay, using this segmentation network, okay. So for that, you may have to change the final output channels, okay. And you will see you can implement anyways the segmentation network using this encoder-decoder architecture in maybe assignment 2. Okay? And you can use the same training code as before, okay, to achieve the segmentation task. Okay, you will see later. And exactly the same architecture can be also used to even generate the images. Okay, so you already see that your input is some RGB image, and now you can generate, anyway, synthesis some output image, which is in the same dimension with the original image, okay? But here, the dimension of the output image is having just one channel because it was denoting the segmentation map, okay? But even you can generate some RGB image from this, these features if you use the, how to say, the transpose convolution operation, you can even generate these color images as well, okay? And actually, this paper, if you follow this paper, that paper is actually doing the things, okay? They are generating images using the encoder-decoder architecture we just learned. So what they do is they input this type of images where their center patches are erased, okay? So here we on purpose deleted the center pixels, okay? And this is actually our input to the network. And actually these two are showing the result, which is reconstructed by the network, okay? So, but before that, you have to see this. So this is the result where the human artist drew by himself, but there are many discrepancy, okay? So these patches is not well aligned with the original boundary pixels, okay? But you are seeing that this result is quite even better than what human artist does, right? But this is slightly blurred, okay? Having pixels which is blurred, but you may feel like that these pixels are better aligned with the boundary pixels, okay? Because they are using different losses during the training. So, I mean, if you use only the L2 loss, the MSE loss, L2 is same as mean square error loss. The MSE loss we normally use during the regression task, okay? If we only use the regression L2 loss, which is frequently used during the regression task, the result is somehow not bad, but it is becoming blurry. Okay, that is the limitation of only using the L2 loss. So this paper, CVPR 2016, they are proposing this adversarial loss to be used in this in-painting task. Okay. Maybe I have some slides for explaining about that. I will explain about that. Okay. But basically, I mean, L2 loss, applying L2 loss is very somehow simple to implement. It is almost same as the linear regression when you use the PyTorch. So this is the encoder-decoder architecture we will use, okay? We first will extract uh, the features by applying the encoder architecture and then apply decoder and we'll reconstruct some patches which is same size, which has the same dimension as this erased patches, okay? And then you already have ground truth for these erased patches, okay? If you are given training images, you can, I mean, if you have training images by removing this patch, and you can make the Y from this erased region, and if you can reconstruct the input image X from the unerased regions, okay? Are you guys following this? Okay. And during training, using the MSE laws, you can train this encoder-decoder architecture using this X and Y samples, okay? And then it can at least, you can at least can get this type of result, okay? Using the encoder-decoder architecture, you can train the network that can draw some images, okay? But there are some more, I mean, how to say, we need more loss functions which can improve the quality of the images because this is very challenging task, right? In segmentation task, here we are generating just one channel output and the values here is the values here is just the one integer value. So for example, here the pixels may have 0 value for indicating that these pixels are cow, and may you have one integer 1 to denote that these regions are sky. And somehow you are having very few number of integer values, okay, to be outputted in this segmentation task, okay? That integers are denoting the index of semantic classes, okay, in the semantic segmentation task. But here, when drawing the images, their output space is quite wide, okay, compared to the semantic segmentation task. each pixel is having 0 to 25 values for red, green, blue values. Okay. So the space the pixels have to estimate is wider than the segmentation task. Okay. Are you guys following this? So because of that, if you use only the L2 loss, this type of blurry effect can be shown to your eye, right? And to prevent that, there's some need more advanced loss functions. Okay, are you guys following this? But this is beyond of the scope of this lecture. Okay, actually, if you are interested in this type of loss function, which is advanced, and if you properly understand this loss function, adversarial loss, you have to learn about GAN method, which is a generative model, or we call it as generative AI. Okay, but I will teach you some basic concepts about that. Okay, so basically there are two networks in this GAN network, or in adversarial situation. Okay, so GAN is also abbreviation for generative adversarial networks. Okay, GAN. But you don't have to remember this in this course. But anyways, I want to explain this to improve your understanding. So generator is, you can think that as our encoder-decoder architecture. It is generating some output which is larger than one-dimensional vector. Okay. In classification, it is generating one-dimensional vector which denote the probability of the semantic class. Here we are generating 2D images, which is larger in dimension, okay, compared to the one-dimensional vector. So in that sense, we are saying that we are generating something, okay? Anyways, we can think of our encoder-decoder architecture here as the generator. And there are another network, which is called as discriminator, okay? And what it does is similar to this. Generator, it is, you can think of this as the fake money generator. And you can think of this discriminator as some policeman that try to detect the fake money, that want to discriminate fake money from the real money. Okay, that is what this policeman does. Okay, and this discriminator always want to discriminate the one generated from the generator and the real data. Okay, and the generator, they are trying to deceive this policeman. Okay, we call this situation as adversarial situation. So they are fighting each other. Okay, they are competing each other. That is called as adversarial situation. You can think of this as the teacher and student as well. Okay, so I mean, here I only want to give you some conceptual understanding about this. So when applying MSc laws, it is like giving you the answer. So teaching the answers to the student, okay, that's applying MSc laws. So teachers are giving the answers and teaching the student to answer that ground truth. That's the MSc laws, okay? But sometimes if if teachers are teaching like that, then students answers not perfectly. Okay, sometimes some students are getting 100% from the midterm exam, but some others are not. But uh, adversarial learning, this loss function is like teachers pushes students. Teachers always say your answer is wrong. Okay, then students struggles to persuade the teachers. Okay, they try hard to improve their answers. Okay, so this adversarial loss is doing like that. So students doesn't how to say are not merely trained to answer the ground truth, but they are also struggling to persuade teachers, okay, in their to improve their quality of answers, okay. So by doing that, somehow you can understand their output is becoming better compared to not using the adversarial loss, okay. It is similar to how students are learning, okay. So because we are using additional loss function that is making students or some, how to say, the fake money generator struggles to improve their quality. So thanks to that, we are getting better answers from the generator. Okay, are you guys following this? Okay. Maybe you have to take another deep generative model course in AI graduate school if you properly understand this adversarial loss. Okay, but you can conceptually understand what this adversarial loss does. Okay? Anyways, if you do it like this is the input and this is the output, the ground truth. Okay, and this is the encoder decoder architecture that output something similar, having the same dimension with this y, okay? And you can apply the L2 loss, mean square error loss, and also you can involve the discriminator architecture to apply the adversarial loss, okay? That is how we implement this training pipeline for using both MSE and adversarial loss, okay? But I mean, you don't have to understand it, okay? The adversarial loss here, but you can just roughly understand using this encoder decoder architecture and using the MSC loss, you can achieve the segmentation and also you can generate some blurry images, okay, which is similar to the ground truth image, okay. And good thing is you can also use the same training pipeline based on the PyTorch, okay. And next is the pose estimation, okay, that I explained before. But I will briefly want to introduce about this, and after that we will finish. So pose estimation, as I mentioned previously, it tried to reconstruct some predefined 3D representation. So in human hand, there were 21 key points. And for the human body, there are also several numbers of key points predefined. Okay, so for this type of regions, we are predefining some key point. Okay, and also we want to reveal their x and y, z key point, their coordinate. Okay, sometimes we just estimate their x and y coordinate. Okay, that depends. So sometimes we call that as 3D pose estimation, then we have to define their z coordinate as well. But sometimes we just achieve the 2D pose estimation by inferring only x and y positions, okay? The architecture is very maybe intuitive. So given this RGB image, we are using the same CNN architecture as before, and we are but replacing the output format. Previously in our classification task, we are getting the one-dimensional vector, whose dimension corresponds to the number of object classes. Okay, but here our output is uh, two coordinates by maybe 14. If there are 14 joined, and if we want to estimate their x and y values, then our output would be 28-dimensional vector. Okay, are you guys agree with this? Okay, and then because we are having the ground truth coordinate, so we will apply the L2 loss function. Okay, that can close our responses to the ground truth. Okay. But there are variety of methods that can, I mean, if you do only this kind of thing, then because from this RGB image, estimating the, how to say, the coordinate of the raw coordinate of the pose to the key point is sometimes not very intuitive for the network. Okay? We humans, even for humans, we do not know what would be the x and y coordinate. What exactly is the x and y coordinate of this part? Okay? Somehow we have to uh, exactly measure their, how to say, coordinate values. So inspired by that fact, uh, some researchers published some new network that estimate this type of heat map representation instead of this low coordinate values from the RGB image. Okay, and it is, I mean, getting better accuracy compared to this type of architecture. Okay, so they are somehow changing the concept of, I mean, what to learn for the network for achieving the pose estimation. Okay, so I mean, naively, we can think this could be the best way, but even humans are sometimes not very simple for humans to estimate their exact coordinate. But we can say this part we have hand, this part we have torso, this part we have knee of the humans. Okay, so this type of things are similar to what they does here. Okay, so using this heat map representation, the network is becoming to better learn about this pose estimation representation. Okay, so I will. This is actually showing their network design. Okay, so they are defining the CPM pose network here, their architectures and their fold functions here. Okay, so we will review that in next class. Okay. So I will finish the lectures here and see you this Wednesday. Okay, thank you.